Well, good evening. Got some sunlight streaming here through the windows of my studio garage. What we're going to be doing now is the first of the four acrylic paint color wheels. You will probably notice that I have my board already taped off, and the area that the paint's going to go into has been spared out. The thing you might not be able to read quite clearly is that I've marked on the tape positions for the clock. So it's 12 noon, 6, 3, and 9, and in between we have 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 10, 11. These are kind of like indicators. I won't do this in subsequent examples, but for this one I wanted them there because I refer to them often. The first thing that we're going to do, and you'll notice that I have my paint arrayed on the tray. Now you don't need to have anything quite so elaborate. That's an aluminum butcher's tray. I know that most of you probably don't have one of those. You can use disposable plates, anything that you want to. You're probably going to want to throw it away afterward anyway. I do a lot of painting, so consequently I end up with several of these. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you have a supply of rags and some clean water, because you're going to want to clean your brush out in between various operations here. And you'll probably want to have your brushes out. I've got a bunch of them here, just in case I want to grab something. I find that the broad flat brushes for this work better than anything else. Because it has a tendency to help you blend the paint better. I'm not going to use this big one. I'm going to use this small half-inch one. So what I'm going to do is give myself some water, and I'm going to grab myself some, and for this example we're using cadmium red medium, cadmium yellow medium, and ultramarine blue. You will only need those three colors to mix everything that you need. So what you want to do is you want to get yourself a good amount of the red paint on the brush, and then starting off at the 12 o'clock position, begin to apply some paint to the board. Like so. Most of the time in this you're going to be working kind of like wet into wet, so you'll kind of want to keep the paint moist as you possibly can, because you're going to be blending things back and forth. I'm going to now clean out my brush as best I can. Wipe out the excess onto some paper towel. I have no idea how the lighting is going to work in this thing tonight, because we've got all this sunlight streaming in here, but we should have ample light and things should show up pretty well. Now I'm going to take a little bit more water and grab myself some of this yellow over here. This is the cadmium yellow medium. The yellow is going to get applied at about the 4 o'clock position. That's where pure yellow is going to be. So that's going to be over here. I have no idea whether this is bleeding out under the tape. It'll be interesting to see if I make some mistakes. We always learn more from mistakes than we do from doing something right the very first time. So now the key is, this is a primary red, this is a primary yellow, and the key is to mix a secondary right in here, which would be orange. So we're going to take a little bit of the yellow again, put it here, some of the red, mix it there. The idea is to get an orange that's lighter than the red but darker than the yellow. A bit more red in it. There we go. And that's going to go in at about the 2 o'clock position right here. Now the trick will be clean your brush out, grab some yellow with a little bit of the orange mixed in, and do a blend as best you can. between the orange and the yellow. You want to try to make it so that there aren't distinct lines in between the colors. Almost like you're looking at a rainbow. And now again the same thing with the red to the orange. Trying to eliminate that harsh line with the red. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. Been a while since I've done one of these. A bit more yellow here. And I'll draw a little bit of a line right there to get rid of that. There we go. And we'll let that dry. So for the next part of this, when I do the blend from the yellow to the blue and from the blue to the red, I'm not going to say anything. And the reason for that is that I'm going to probably speed the film up, and you don't want to hear me chirping away like a chipmunk. So I'm going to do that as quietly as I possibly can. But anyway, you get the idea. You want to try to make as much of a blend, kind of like a rainbow, as you can. I'll say this and then I'm going to be quiet for the rest of this. The blue goes in at the 8 o'clock position right here. And there we are. I think it's about done. I just have to let it dry now, and then we will peel the tape off. Sometimes it helps to have like a hair dryer or something like that to dry these things. You can wave them around in the air, but then of course if there are a lot of paint and it's kind of wet, you can splatter it all over the place. If you're going to be using a reusable tray like this, I recommend cleaning it out fairly quickly, otherwise the paint will dry on and it'll be kind of a hard thing to get peeled off. Anyway, that is the basis for doing the first of the acrylic color wheels. We refer to this one as the RGB color wheel. Next we'll be taking a look at a video on the truth about the color wheel from Mr. Scott Nesmith. And then after that we're going to take another stab at another color wheel. This is the way that I was instructed to do color wheels back when I was in undergraduate school. They have since learned some things about that, and we will be taking a look at that fairly soon. At the close of this, I will do a still shot of what this looks like once I've got the tape peeled off of it. And I promise that I won't try to do anything to clean up the edges or anything like that in case there has been some mistakes, and that way you'll be able to see that sometimes the paint does bleed out underneath the edges of the tape, but God willing, I hope it didn't. Okay, all for now. Okay, here's the way that it turned out. It's not too bad. There's a few things. And if it were me, I would say that I would probably give this project an A. But it has a few things wrong with it. Like, for instance, there's a paint bleed there and a paint bleed there. There's some damage to the board up here where I miscut before I started painting, and some paint leaked through. There's a weak area here where the transition from blue to purple, so I could have beefed up the blue-purple a little bit. There's a bad transition from the red to the red-orange, and a bad transition from the blue to the blue-green. So those are the kinds of things that I look for when I'm grading a project. But the overall neatness of something like this, and the fact that, if you did this, one of you did this, I said I would probably give this project an A because it's in pretty good shape. Now, of course, it's not completed until you add the notes. So you need to have everything put in. If you'll notice here on this, I have given myself pencil lines to keep my printing level and straight, and give myself some place to write things in. I even did a compass pass a couple of times around the outside so that I had some place to write in all of the colors. And of course, don't forget to put your name in the lower left hand corner. So this is project number 3, the RGB color wheel. Okay? Anyway, that's it. Next we'll be going on to yet another color wheel, but we'll talk about that after the presentation from Mr. Naismith next week. All right, talk to you later.